I feel that maybe because we know one another so long, and maybe because I know that you can be really mean at times.
Wow. Butter me up, why don't you?
Actually, I think the last radio interview we did, you were really mean because they were doing horrible things to charities at the time, and you decided to come at me like I don't know what. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I was terrified on the day. Anyway, can I just say, I want to thank you for coming on tonight and taking the time, because we are fundraisers are in trouble. Events are gone. Our shops have been closed for 3 months. And all charities are in serious trouble. So we're leaning on the likes of all you guys who can pull an audience to try and rescue us, because other than you guys, we're really, really in trouble. So thank you so much for your time tonight. I know your time is precious.
It's my pleasure. Not at all. It's my pleasure. Absolutely.
Oh, really, I do really appreciate it. So anyway, so tell us all, now that you're a huge, big star, I'm going to take you back from where you are now at the moment, because really at the moment, you're probably at the top of the pile in your industry, I would have thought. So can we just go back? I would like to go back, because actually I don't know your original story at all. And can I just ask you about when you came up from Cork to Dublin? Take yourself back. Were you married at the time to Sarah?
No, I wasn't. No. So I was in Cork in UCC, right? And I was finishing my primary degree. And I got a thing called the Ford Postgraduate Bursary in marketing, which was given to one person every year. And at that time, in old money, it was £10,000, right? This was like nearly 30 years ago, right?
Wow.
And so all I had to do was show up once a month at a place, and I got a check for £800, which was crazy money for a student at the time. I was also, at that point, I don't even know how, but I was the warden as well. It was a kind of a part-time job. I was the warden of Castlewhite Apartments, which was a student accommodation. But you got to live in this amazing apartment for free. And then you got paid as well. You did office hours and stuff as part of it. So I was meant to be doing a master's, and I had all this money and everything, right? So I was having a ball. There was no master's being done. And a friend of mine came to me one day and he said, listen, I'm going to Dublin tomorrow for something. And he said, look at this, there's a journalism course here in DCU or in DIT in Angel Street, a postgrad journalism course. And he said, this is the form. Tomorrow's the last day. I'll drop the form in for you. And I was like, well, why? And he said, I really think it'd be a good idea if you filled out the form, and I'll bring it up for you. So I suppose it was a class of an intervention in a way, like, because, I was messing, going over with my life, and I was, I had a load of money and I was having a ball, but so I did that. And yeah, that was, one of those little things when someone just steps in and nudges you in a particular direction.
Okay.
So came up and did that, and had a ball doing that as well. And then I started Murish McAneil, who died recently, kind of became my mentor in that course, and we became kind of good friends for a while. And he would take me to the pub and tell me about, I think he'd been controller of programs in RTE, he'd been a government press secretary. Murish had a very kind of highbrow and distinguished career and everything, but he was a great character. And then one day I wrote this thing and he said, you should send that to Anne Harrison's Sunday Independent. So I did. And I met Sarah then through the Sunday Independent. Barry Egan used to have a page called Culture Vultures, which was this kind of daft stuff we did in those days, which was, I don't know, there was a gang of us, a younger kind of crowd in there, and he would have a theme every week and we would do various things. But somehow, I don't even know why, I think it was to do with Bloomsday, we all ended up in kind of slightly Victorian gear on Sandymount Strand one day for photographs, and there was this girl there, Sarah Cadden, and we were getting on very well, and then we were all in a car and we were being dropped back into town or whatever, and I was kind of, I just knew there was some kind of connection between the two of us. And then she said, leave me out here because I have to meet my boyfriend. And I was like, and anyway, yeah.
Go,
So,
Sarah.
On it went. Yeah.
Well, listen to me. Did you feel like, as a matter of interest, coming up from Cork, I mean, I don't mean did you feel like a second-class citizen, but you know the way Cork people and Dublin people, did you feel coming up now you had a bigger battle to fight because you were Cork boy coming up into...
Oh, geez, I wasn't thinking anything as kind of, when you're that age, like you're not thinking about the bigger picture at all. Like you're kind of going from one day to the other. And I was up in Dublin. I was having a ball. Like it was great. But I was not the kind of person who thought about things or had plans or anything else. I was basically like just operating on, instincts and day-to-day urges and whatever, So I wasn't thinking about that stuff at all. I lived on the South Circular Road in a one-room bedsit. The kitchen was in a press, with like there were country girls as well lived in the house. Like we all shared a toilet, and it was looking back, it was a depressing old spot, but like that was the life, and it was
to be a comedian at some point. Did you want to be?
No, not really. No, when I was in college back in Cork, I would have like emceed comedy nights and stuff like that, but I wouldn't have had a routine as such, you know what I mean? But I would have done a lot of debating, and that would have been, I suppose, a lot of my debating would have been a bit more focused on entertainment or kind of just theatricals or whatever, okay. as a lot of it was. So I suppose it was through that,
Okay, because last week when I know like a little bit about you, as most of us do, because you're very open about your life, really. But when I was looking back last week and I saw you doing the priest in Temple Bar and singing the song, I'd completely forgotten about that.
Yeah. So that was the thing. So yeah, I used to do this show called Don't Feed the Gondolas, which I'm not sure. I was in the Sunday Independent at that stage, and I don't know. I tried out for that. I think it was Kevin Lenihan, who was head of entertainment at the time, kind of suggested it. So like for people who don't remember, it was like, when you look back now, it was actually a hugely popular show. It was like did big numbers, and Dara O'Brien was the other team captain, and I was the team captain, and Sean Moncrief was the presenter, and it was when panel shows were good.
And then it went on into the charts in Ireland for weeks.
Well, so then, yeah, I used to go out and do kind of candid camera things, pretending to be a taxi driver who was like kind of on the gas and stuff. Like people would hop in, and then I'd start taking the gas and all this kind of stuff. So we started doing that. This kind of rapping priest. I'd say it owed a little bit to Father Trendy, and it owed a little bit to Brian Darcy, and a little bit to this and that. But anyway, it kind of evolved out of that.
I thought it was hilarious. Can I ask you just a question? Somebody asked me, actually, Brendan, to ask you, if somebody was going to go and do journalism now, do you think it's because you, to me, were at the time obviously very bright with your bursary? You obviously were bright if you got the bursary. You're extremely clever. You're always kind of on the pulse of things. You were, I think, pre-Mary, I think you were a really sharp, cynical person, and probably made.
I still am. Yeah, I still am.
I don't think I think you've softened hugely, Brendan, since the birth of your two girls, actually. But that would just be my perception of you.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But I don't
like to feel I've lost my edge, though,
No, I don't think you've lost your edge, because I'd be a bit scared of you from that point of view. But I think you were much more, maybe when you're younger and climbing that journalist ladder.
I'd agree. Like, I was probably a bit more brash and a bit more of an arsehole when I was young, and you're a bit more cocky. And like, even like I meet people now that kind of knew me, but I didn't know in UCC, and people would say, you were really like, you were, I don't know, like one night I tried to kind of take you on at a party and you really just cut me down to nothing or whatever, and you kind of think, I was a bit of a dick in many ways, but I think a lot of young people are,
Yeah, but I think you've lost it in a good way, not the hard edge. But if somebody wanted to be a journalist now, do you think the industry has completely changed?
Sure, I wouldn't know what to say. I mean, I wouldn't have been a typical journalist anyway, I was never a reporter or anything. I was kind of it was more like just bits of writing. and, you know, then editing a magazine and everything. So like very much, and like the Sunday Independent under Angus and Anne was very much, I suppose we viewed ourselves, Angus would have viewed it as that we were in the entertainment business as much as anything else. It was about provoking and getting people interested and you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, I wasn't one of those people like who wanted to go away and be Woodward and Bernstein or whatever. You know, it was, for me, it was just like, I don't know, I was never going to have the discipline to be a writer or anything, and the commitment. So this
and
was.
you think now where has it gone? Which
sure. I think it's a vocation now. I think you know, there's a certain type of young person will always want to do it, but
and if you,
I think it'll, you know what, I think it'll be a bit like the way the music industry is, and the way, you know, those kind of left field industries are, that some people, a small group of people will do very well, and then there'll be a lot of people who are just kind of do okay, but or do it for the love of it or whatever, you know. Would it be a viable career choice now if you were thinking, I want to have a family and get a nice house in Dublin and have a good life? I don't think so, like, really, you know.
If, Brendan, do people, I'm not sure, now from an ethical point of view, I don't know the industry really at all, but certainly with the Americans, you feel that they're all owned, you know, like as we see, Fox have one view, CNN have the opposite view, and they all follow. So I don't know where, and we all try and find the truth somewhere in the middle. In Ireland, are we less biased than they are here? Are we more ethical here about it? Or are you owned by...
I think everybody has their own biases and agendas, you know, it's unconscious, like people can't help that. But it's not as bad as it is there, certainly. Like, I mean, I don't know, you look at America now, and that is just a country that is split in two, and they hate each other, you know. So you know, that's a very extreme example, like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think America, at this stage, would you be surprised if there was a civil war there?
No, I wouldn't.
I don't know, like, I mean, like, you think about okay, what's worse, if Trump gets in again, or if Trump doesn't get in again? If Trump doesn't get in again, you'd really worry about what would kick off there, you know? If Trump does get in again, I mean, I think a lot of what's going on there at the moment is actually about Trump in a lot of ways, isn't it? Like all that the marching and everything, as much as it is about racism and Black Lives Matter, I think it's about a country, half of whom don't accept their president and hate him, and they now hate each other. Like, those two groups of people, you know, the liberals and the conservatives, do appear to actually hate each other. Whereas if you look at Ireland, like, it's a much more nuanced picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like, I think even the people who kind of hate each other politically, like, it's a small place, so they all hang out together at the end of the day anyway. So, you know, I don't think we're anywhere near all that. So, like, in a way, like, you think about it, Ireland has a great independent kind of media, you know.
Yeah, I would hope it has. I'd hope we're friends of mine in America actually switch on to Irish radio in the morning when they wake up to try and get some kind of a picture that's less biased than the one they're listening to. Anyway,
I would say though that in America, you know what people's agenda is and where they're coming from. But in Ireland, it takes you a while to figure it out. Like, but once you get what everyone's agenda is here, then you can filter that into the whole situation, you know. But like, I probably would have had agendas when I was younger and everything, increasingly, and obviously now that I'm doing a new job, is that I am increasingly just trying not to really go down on one side or other of an opinion, like, to want, I suppose you want to be on the side of what is right and just and everything else. But I increasingly think that I would try and keep an open mind on things and let everybody have their say. Simple as that.
Brendan, with the new show, how do you, like, let's say you take Monday off, I'm just guessing. Yeah. Spend the rest of the week literally preparing for Saturday and Sunday morning.
You know, and like, people are going to laugh, like, and I know people used to laugh when Marion Finucane would say that she was working all week, and people are like, no, you work 4 hours a week, like, but honestly, I thought I'd be working less. Like, the thing is, I don't know what this is going to be like doing it in normal time. So basically what happened was, so I finished up my office job in the Sunday Independent, and I think I had about two weeks then, you know, before I started again on, because I had been covering for Marion and that had gone on for a bit longer. So I just, you know, we had a bit of a break and then started new show fresh. And like the week that we started was, I think, the 14th of March. And that Saturday was like, you know, it was meant to be like that we would come in on the bank holiday weekend quietly and, you know, kind of a soft launch of the show. But that weekend, like the whole world was falling apart. Like I remember, like the first thing I said in the show was, so like, here we are, we have a health crisis and economic crisis, national nervous breakdown. Like that was the weekend when it was literally imploding, businesses just shutting down and suddenly thinking I'm never going to open again. It all hit that weekend. But from my point of view, so I gave up the job in the office and I was thinking, okay, my life's going to be different now. How am I going to figure working from home and all this kind of stuff? And it's going to be a bit weird not having my usual routine, and I'm going to have to get used to all this. And the following week, everybody else went home as well. So like I never got to figure out how doing this is going to be in reality. Like Sarah reckons that it's been the worst for her, because if you think about it, right, the kids were at school, I was at work, Sarah kind of works from home, so she was doing her thing here, you know, and the kids were gone for a good chunk of the day and I was in the office. So then one week I came home and suddenly I'm around in her hair, and she said the following week the kids came home and they haven't left since. Like, so, you know, she went from being able to kind of do her work and have a kind of an empty house for half the day to, so yeah, so the short answer right now, it's been like 7-day weeks, because you just feel the compulsion to keep following the news. And because your weekend thing, you're always looking for angles, you're looking for where's this going to be in 5 days time or 4 days time, where's it going, what's the next thing. And that's one thing I'm quite pleased about. I don't think we'll ever get any credit for it, but I think we've been ahead of the game all the time. I have a really excellent team, and I think we've always been the first people talking about what's happening next. And so rather than Saturday and Sunday being looking back at the week, I think what we have been doing is looking forward to what's next. And the only way you're able to do that is if you are consuming
everything
24/7 all the time.
And are you loving it? Are you loving the job?
I am. Yeah, you know, doing a new thing, and like I had filled in for Marion, as you say, but this is my name over the door. Yeah. And you know, for me, like I'm not even viewing it now as that I took over from Marion, because like nobody could take over from Marion. Like I'm not just saying this now, but like I think Marion is, you know, I think she was streets ahead of all the rest of everyone else. You know, she just had more class in her little finger than the rest put together. She just like was amazing, you know. So, and in a way, there kind of hasn't been that much focus on that. I've taken over from Marion. It's just like a new thing has started because the whole world changed and everything. So, but you know, I was filling in for her. That was grand. Now it's my name over the door. It brings a different responsibility. And you know, you want to succeed for the team as well, who are working so hard. They're taking like a 50-year-old man who hasn't done much radio, and like as Anne, the producer, says, it's like learning to drive a car, right? So you know, when you're first learning, like with your conscious mind, you couldn't back a car out of the drive because like there's so many things to think about, right? And you know, the first time you try and back a car out of the drive, it's just like you have to do this, and I know you do it in your sleep. So basically, they're dealing with a guy who every move I'm having to learn and do it consciously and everything, rather than someone like who's a pro who can just like do it all in their sleep and focus on the content. So it's a tall order for them, like, and you know, that's kind of a responsibility. And then it's a huge responsibility. It's a massive audience and everything as well, you know. And so you go home, right? You go home on Saturday. I can't so much afford to do it because like you go home on Saturday, if you read all Saturday's papers, try and get Sunday's papers as quick as you can, read them, and there's a lot of work to be done between Saturday and Sunday, so that keeps you going. You don't think too much, And then at the end of Sunday, right, I come home and I start and I'm like, why did you say that, you asshole? You shouldn't have done that. You should have done that instead. Why did you use that word? Through and through and through and through. I know, I presume I can't keep this up forever because I'd wear myself out. But at the beginning, I suppose, in order to learn, you do actually have to go through and audit yourself on everything you need to learn. So, you know, for a middle-aged man, it's a steep learning curve. Like,
listen, let me go back.
Learning new things is a young man's game, I think.
I totally agree with that. I mean, this business of, you know, it's great to go outside your comfort zone. It feckin' isn't. It's much easier to stay in your bloody comfort zone, I have to say.
Yeah, but do I love it? I do. Like, it's an amazing opportunity, and I do love it.
Totally.
It's very exciting. And,
I mean, it has to be your dream job, Brendan. What is your dream? What is
your
dream job?
I mean, look, to be honest, like, I don't think there is any other kind of broadcast job that suits me the way this does. Like, and you know, I hope, and I think people are being very kind, and they know.
Yeah.
And I very much get from the audience that they're kind of willing me to succeed. People are so nice, like lots of engagement with the audience, and they know I'm feeling my way into it, you know, and they know I'll get better and slicker and everything else, you know, but they give me that chance, you know.
Huge shoes to fill, and I think you're a natural at it, but it is fabulous that you ended up in the position that's perfect for you, I think, really. It's but like, obviously, you know, that old story of like the farmer who's what is it? I don't know, like, it starts, one of his cows dies and people say, oh, that's bad. And he says, good or bad, who knows, we'll see. It ends up then his son has an accident, breaks his leg, and they're like, that's terrible, your son broke his leg. He says, good, bad, we'll see. Next, the army comes into town, conscripts all the young men. They don't take his son because he has a broken leg. People say, that's good, they didn't take your son. He says, good, bad, we'll see. So, like, basically, there's been a lot, like, you know, there's been a lot of times when things, you know, haven't always, well, in the sense that I haven't always been treated well, let's say, put it that way, by people, but it all led to this. To the right. It all led to the right place for now, anyway. You know, good or bad, who knows? We'll see. Who knows? Well, it seems to be the perfect fit. I want to take you back to about 10 years ago when you were a totally different person from a physical view. Go back to that for me, Brendan, because you were lovely and cuddly and not the skinny kind of toned person that you are today. And you don't mind me saying this because I know you talk about it.
No, not at all.
You know, if this was the female interview, I wouldn't.
Are you afraid of mentioning about weight now because you could be accused of shaming somebody? Or
I was just about to say, if you were a woman, I would have this conversation because
I know, why not? Why can't we talk about these things anymore?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know why we can't, but I suppose the problem is that women are, you know, if there's a man and a woman on the screen and they've been interviewed, as we've seen recently with that gorgeous blonde, I can't think of her name, Charlize Theron or somebody, and they asked your man a really intelligent question, and then they said to her, so what did you eat for the 6 months?
I know there's a lot of that stuff, but I just mean even talking about issues like weight and everything is now like it's about you're shaming people or whatever.
I know, I think it's ridiculous, but look, but anyway, so I am talking to you about it because I did know you like 12 or 14 years ago, and you were a fine, big, chunky, gorgeous guy, and you were not a bit sporty, like you were the complete opposite to sporty. I mean, I never was, you know, and you know what, like it's a big argument for when kids are young. Certainly when my childhood, like if you weren't, like in the school I went to, if you weren't good in GA, they weren't interested in you, and you know, you were kind of instead of somebody going, okay, well, can we find something this guy can do? Yeah. Or some exercise that he might enjoy so that he'll do some exercise. There's none of that, like, so you're just left to become like, you know, the fatty who tries to avoid PE and all that kind of thing, you know, instead of somebody sitting down with you and going, okay, look, exercise is an important thing. More than anything else, it'll make you feel good. But like that's what exercise is about for me. It's about the head. Like I'm just a much happier person from exercising. You know, it's not so much about weight. Was it about baby? Did the children change the way you are?
I think Anna would have given me some kind of sense of responsibility to look after myself. Yes, when Anna was born. So it probably started around then.
And you took to the swimming.
Yeah, and initially it was like I read this book called The Hungry Years by William Lee, and it just gave me a whole new perspective on eating and carbohydrates and all that. And like I did realize, Jesus Christ, the way I've been eating, like basically comfort eating my whole life, you know, like eating your feelings as they call it or whatever, and it's about carbohydrates. And actually, if you stop that, everything changes. So it did start to changing then. Swimming kind of didn't come for a while after that. There was still no huge exercise, walking like or whatever, then swimming. And again, like these little interventions from people, this woman, Mary Wade, who teaches down in, she teaches, I learned from her in Kenmare in the Park Hotel, and she kind of took me under her wing, and I had never learned to do any sport in my life, right? I had tried some sports and I couldn't do any of them. So I had this mindset that I cannot do this, like, and she teaches kids with special needs, like how to swim, right? And that was actually what I needed, like, because she was like, you just, you know, this is a mindset here. Like, I was just convinced. I was like, you cannot teach me to swim. I can't do it. And she taught me, and then a guy called Pavel, a Polish guy who I haven't seen in ages. Everybody who swims in the sea, certainly on the south side of Dublin, all knows Pavel in some way or another. Pavel's an incredible body, this tall Polish guy, and he kind of just, I broke my arm, and Pavel was teaching the kids to swim up in the gym, and he said to my wife one day, "Tell your husband to come see me." So I went to see him, and he said, "So you broke your arm, get you back swimming, I'll help you." And then he said, "No, I'm going to bring you to the sea." And I was like, "I'm not swimming in the sea." And like, I look back on it, funny, I was out driving out by Sandy Cove today. We used to go out in the pitch dark, right, with lights on our heads at the 40 foot and swim around the buoys in complete darkness, like, and then the sun would be coming up by the end of it. Like, I wouldn't do it now, you know, but he was there with me. And I remember there were times like I'd be looking around, "Where are you?" Like, and we'd be out in the sea like this. But he kind of said, "No, you can do this," you know. So like, it's amazing the effect that people who just come into your life in some way and just nudge you in some way. And I think what it reminds us all is the need to, you know, if not formally mentoring people, like, but as you get older, that you should, you know, help people out and nudge them along if they want help and advice and whatever, you know.
Do you cook, Brendan?
Yeah, not as much as I used to, but a bit. Yeah, but
No.
but I can't say enough about how if anyone who doesn't exercise, like, I didn't do it for, like, I would say nearly 40 years. I didn't do it because I was like, why would I want to do that? And then you go, well, like, yeah, no wonder you were depressed, you know, no wonder you weren't happy. Because, like, and I've started running now since this pandemic. And I realized that I was running every day until I realized I was going to screw my knees. So I'm kind of every second day a bit now. But like, you run for 25 minutes, you can completely change your mood. Like, it's like a miracle. Like, it's incredible. Like, you wake up and have a run and you come back and you're just like, you're sharp and you're positive and everything. So.
And did you ever suffer with depression, Brandon?
You know, I wouldn't have put a label on it, but like, I would say, you know what I would say? I would say and like, you know, you want to be very careful because, again, people get up in arms about, like, oh, you know, mental health and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, there are people who have really bad mental health issues. What I would say is I would say that my feeling is my personality is quite a depressive personality, so that I have to watch that, you know.
Really?
Like, I'm quite a negative person. I can be, like, left unchecked, and I just need, I do a lot of work to try and keep out of that space. That would be like that's kind of like a lot of my work is around mood and everything. A lot of my, like, the idea of having to be in a certain, it's getting easier now. The idea of having to be in a certain mood at a certain time for broadcasting was always a thing for me, you know. So I know I had a TV show on Saturday night where you had to be way. I cannot guarantee that I'm in that space
Okay.
at that time on a Saturday night. My
Okay.
confidence fluctuates a lot and all of that kind of thing. So some of the hardest work I do is that, you know. But like I think we all do to some extent.
Sarah's an angel then.
Well, no, I don't make it her problem, and
She's
yeah,
living
she
with you.
doesn't, and she doesn't make it her. Yeah, but I'm not. Like, no, I don't think I'm difficult to live with. I think I'm probably much easier to live with than I ever was. Like, no, she does. I actually take it as my own responsibility, and I don't think that you should, like, my mood does not dominate the house, or my mood. I don't impose my moods on anyone else either. Like, you know, I deal with it myself. Like, and I do the work and all that kind of thing, and I do put a lot of work into it.
Guys, obviously now your endorphins are obviously better than they've ever been. All right, with all your exercise, it's obviously made a huge
definitely, no doubt about it. And I think swimming in the sea again is like a kind of a miraculous thing, you know. I just like that gift that Pavel gave me of bringing me to the sea that time, probably the greatest gift that anyone has given me, you know. It's an incredible thing. Yeah. Like in the depths of winter, to go out there like into water so cold that like it's painful to get into it, even though you're used to it, like, and that your hands straight away like are practically freeze up and feel like huge claws and everything. But you know, the sense of kind of self-esteem you get out of that when you get out, and it might be 10, like in the middle of the worst part of the year is probably February. You might be doing 10 minutes, like, but like in really super cold water. But you get out and you go, you know what? 99.9% of people couldn't even get into that water, and I managed to move in it for 10 minutes. And now like, my body's sort of shaking. I can't feel my hands and feet and whatever else. But you know, yeah.
If you were in Russia now, they'd give you a little knockback of vodka with that when you're doing it, and it makes all the difference, you know?
Yeah.
It really does. Come here, just while we were mentioning Sarah, I just have to say this to you because I just thought I read her article yesterday in the magazine, and it completely brought me back because I never thought that you and Sarah wrote similarly. And it brought me back to your own article on Mary, which I'm not going to go into Mary because I don't.
You know what? There's people. It's a kind of a passive aggressive thing. I think some people do. There are people like who basically don't acknowledge that I ever wrote anything else that was any good. They go. They might even say, you know, I never liked you, but that article you wrote about your daughter was great, or your article about your daughter was great. And I think I've written a million other articles.
You have it, but my point is that it was very similar to Sarah's, I thought, because.
Well, I did mine first.
I know you did. Yeah.
You know what? I think what the similarity was around because it probably is a big moment for both of us. It was that moment in the delivery room, you know, and it's a moment that I think both of us were kind of.
It was magnificently told.
Probably wish we'd reacted different or felt bad subsequently for how we reacted, because then you get to know Mary. But at the time, it was just like,
yes.
And you know, I think the people who identified with the piece I wrote are people who got something out of it. Like, obviously there aren't that many people who are in the exact same circumstances, but I think anyone who ever got a shock, that's what that I look back now and that's what that was about. And I think it was similar to Sarah. Like,
her article yesterday was magnificently written, and she looked fabulous. Just on
and look who it is.
Yeah, you're talking to.
I'm on a Zoom interview. Come here, say a quick hello.
Who is it?
Say a quick hello, Debbie, my friend Debbie. Say a quick hello. Say a quick hello. We were just talking about you.
Hi, Mary.
Say a quick hello. Come on.
Hi.
Don't kick over my beer. No, you have to stick your head in. Just stick your head in and say hi.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Okay. All right. Off you go.
A good one.
Yeah.
Do you know what the dog is?
Is that it there?
Yes.
Okay. Bye. Close the door, will you?
How rude of you.
How rude of you. Now close the door.
Brendan, just while I'm on the subject of gorgeous small girls. Hi.
That was bye.
Oh, it was bye. Goodbye, Mary. While I'm on the subject, just to come back to the Madeleine McCann story, which they touched off yesterday in the Sunday Indo. I mean, you travel a lot. You're always away on holidays in the sun. What do you think of the whole story? What do you think of your man? Do you think it's him?
Well, they seem to be more confident than ever that it is him. Like, the thing is, like, I recognize that everybody's kind of into that story, but I think there's a sense of prurience now. Why are we all obsessing over this one story of this one?
Well, it's
child?
not now.
Like that is now. We talk about journalism as show business. I think there's an element of this here. This is entertainment for people, because like if people were that worried about a child in trouble, like why have they not put 20 pages in the Daily Mail or whatever about every child that you have ever dealt with who's in trouble, you know what I mean, or who has hate unfortunate circumstances, disappeared, been taken away from their parents, whatever, you know. I mean, I know there's no equivalence like there, but you know what I'm saying, like,
but
people get concerned about random things, like they like this because they and you know, they enjoyed blaming the mother for a while, and the child is cute, and I suppose we've all been on these holidays and stuff and whatever, but do you know what I mean? I just think...
I know what you mean, but do some stories not completely captivate? It's a bit like America at the moment. How many people were there before George Floyd? And, you know, again and again and again and again and again, and then suddenly one lights the flame.
Yes.
What is that? I mean, that's what happens, isn't it? It's like one story lights... I mean, we've had tragic stories here.
But I think it's a problem. It's not a problem. It's a good thing that George Floyd has kicked off this conversation, and that it's all over the world. It's causing us all to interrogate ourselves about you know, how we grew up and everything else, and you know, to educate ourselves. On the other hand, like, look, there are people who will argue that, like, there's awful stuff going on in China every day. Why are we not down picketing the Chinese embassy? There's terrible stuff going on to women in Saudi Arabia and everything. Why are we not fixating on that? So it's like, if one thing is easily digestible, then I think... Yes. And look, I'm not saying that the George Floyd story
no, I agree with you.
It isn't a valuable lesson for the world in a way. I know it's a tragedy for him and his family, but it's a valuable lesson to the world. But I'm just saying there are so many other ones as well. But I guess as much as Madeleine McCann thing is down to, like, that it was in a sense media friendly or something. We do cute pictures of her, and you know, the parents were a certain type of people and all that kind of thing. I mean, George Floyd became what it did presumably because of that horrendous 8 minutes. You know, that video. It's just like appalling. But because you know what it is? Because we saw it.
Because we saw it.
Yeah. We don't see so many other things. We saw that, and in the world we're in now, of clickable content and, you know, everything video and stuff going viral and everything, George Floyd is the ultimate and possibly most useful thing that ever kind of went viral in a way, isn't it? Because it just...
I do think it's going to be a tipping point. I really do.
Who knows?
Yes. Now,
who knows? Because you know, so somebody was pointing out to me out in RTE the other day that he got sent a thing of Saturday Night Live sketches from down the years at the time where there were riots, and it reminded him of the last, like, 25 years of times when things have kicked off, maybe racially and stuff, riots in America, and how everything was going to change, but everything didn't change. You would hope it changes things, like, but...
Yeah. When we started this, Brendan, the idea of this, we were kind of talking to different people about the way forward, the new future, the new normal, as people were calling it, and we were asking people for their advice, kind of. So we had a different range of people. You were kind of the journalistic side of it, and we had somebody with a therapist, and we had somebody that was in sexuality, and we have somebody else doing all sorts of stuff. Mary McAleese the other day, and it's funny, COVID has nearly become old news. Like this time 2 weeks ago, all we could obsess about was how many people were dying, how many people was it gone. We did Dr. Luke, we were all falling in love with Dr. Luke on the telly every night. We had a whole world wrapped up in this, and suddenly it's old news, and we've spun into America being on fire. So we did set out in the beginning and kind of say to people that we would hope that...
But hang on, COVID does not respect the news cycle. I always figured eventually another story is going to come and will kind of take over, but we can't, like, these days we disregard everything. Something that's the most important news in the world 1 week, it gets kind of washed through in the weekend papers and analysed and stuff, And suddenly then we move on to another agenda the following week. And there is like this, the cycle's getting faster and faster, right? And we just like are all outraged about something one day, and then we've moved on to something else, the most important thing in the world. And it did always strike me that people were dying to move on from COVID, you know, they were like, okay, but that story's done. But it's not done, you see, and it won't be done for a while. So we can't just do that. And I would say there's even a danger that it does become less of a story now. And people kind of go, yeah, well, that's over, because that's what we're used to. But you see, it's not. Yeah.
I heard Bob Geldof been interviewed about 2 months ago, just at the beginning of COVID, and he was kind of saying there's more and more. Now, not that he knows everything, but he was quite sure in his opinion, there's more and more on the way. You know, this is just one. There's more chickens out there hatching some kind of a god-awful virus at the moment.
Well, what does Bob Geldof know, like?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's been people banging on about this for ages, and I suppose we didn't think it would happen, and we never listened to them, and they were right. But equally, I don't think anyone knows. I don't think we know enough. We don't know where this goes from here. Like there are very good doctors and scientists will tell you that a pandemic can also be a tidal wave, and that we've had the tidal wave. Yes. And that what happens next is like a little bit of backwash here and there, but that, you know, I just don't think we know. I think people have had a real problem with seeing beyond the present moment in this, because I think that's the way people seem to be wired these days, and it's the way the media is wired. So everyone always thought they couldn't see beyond the moment we were in at any time. They never thought things would change. They could just never see beyond, and we still can't see beyond. So I suppose I'm trying to stand back from things, and maybe I'm a bit of a contrarian as well, like. So I'm trying to kind of stand back from it and go, well, I think there will be a beyond. For example, and look, this again could be my contrariness. I don't think the whole world is going to change forever.
What do you mean by that?
I just think everyone's got locked into this narrative that everything is going to change forever.
You're going to go back.
And that like there's, you know, Colin McCarthy used it to talk about economies last week, but I thought it was a good metaphor that things are either rubber bands or paper clips, right? So you glue a rubber band, you pull it, it goes back into its original shape. You bend a paper clip, it doesn't, right? So people are thinking, no, this is a paper clip kind of moment, that the world's been bent out of shape and will not spring back into shape. It's not going to spring exactly back into shape, but going on the premise that everybody is usually wrong, if everybody thinks something, they're practically always wrong. If you look back, you will see that usually the herd is wrong. And my instinct is always to question the herd. I just think that they're probably all wrong again, because they usually are. So I actually think that it'll take time and everything, and who knows? Look, who knows, right? I think making any predictions about this, I think calling whether Sweden is right or not or anything, it's too early to say on any of it, you know? Like the head of the Chinese Communist Party said about the French Revolution, you know, hundreds of years later, when they asked him what he thought of it, he said it's too early to say. It's too early to say anything here. But
do you worry about the world?
And it's my delusion, right? I think we all have our own delusions around this. My delusion is that, yes, there's going to be huge economic damage for a while, but and I even question, was some of that a bit avoidable? But anyway, but I think that the world is not going to change as much as we think it is. I remember asking right at the beginning of all this, he might have changed his mind now. I asked John Banville, do you think this is going to change people? And he said, people don't change. And he has a point, like, why did people go out and queue at shops this morning? They didn't need stuff.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
they were in IKEA car park 2 hours before IKEA opened.
Yeah, was it John Maynard Keynes called it the animal spirits of the people want to trade, people want to be engaged in commerce, people are acquisitive, people want stuff, and you know, I do think we probably will want less. And I mean, like, I was thinking, like, I got dressed up, believe it or not, for this, and this is what me dressed up looks like these days. Like, you should have seen me half an hour ago, you know. But this is as dressed up as it gets now. Like, I think all that's gone. Like I have a suit upstairs. Like, I have one suit now. I used to have more, but I have one suit that I keep for in case I need a suit. I kind of don't know if I'll ever wear a suit again. Like, you know, stuff like that. But I just think we all need to stay calm and try and see beyond the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And look, you would not have thought a month ago that we could be where we were at today. And
Mm-hmm.
I think people are very adaptable and very resilient and everything else. And yes, some things will change for a while and everything, but I don't know, I kind of have a great faith that it's not going to change everything that much. And, you know, there are some things probably could change, and it should change in the sense that, you know, people, Madonna told us it was the great equalizer and everything, but it wasn't. I thought someone else said it was the great revealer, actually. And it revealed like so much about inequality and our priorities out of whack in the world and everything. But equally, I just think that the systems, commerce, the people who run the world, big business, all very resilient. Like, look at our taxes. Our tax take is barely down at all. Why? Because the people who pay taxes, the better paid, and the companies who pay most taxes, big companies, none of them have suffered. You know, most of them haven't suffered. The people who have are people, small and medium businesses and people in lower paid jobs.
Okay, so then to finish up, words of wisdom from somebody like you, middle-aged, as you say yourself, very wise, sucking up all the information, hoovering up information from every source of every news all around the world. What would be your advice to be going for people going forward? Because people are feeling very rattled. I don't feel rattled by it at all. I loved the lockdown. I loved every single thing of it. Loved it.
Do you not get sick of it at times? I didn't think a social life was that important to me, but at times I just realized my life is completely out of balance because I'm not seeing people. And like this, for me, this is the first time I've done a Zoom conversation. It's completely unsatisfactory to me. Like, I just feel like I'm talking to the wall here. Like, you know, I'm talking at you. Like, I prefer not to connect with people or talk to them on the phone or wait and see them. Because I did, from that point of view, it's a first world problem, but I did find that lack of interaction. Some days I would just go, I can't do this anymore.
I love the second of it. I think the weather was an unbelievable gift to us all. A gift.
Yeah.
But so what? So for people that are, I was listening to people on the radio, absolutely rattled by it, overwhelmed by it. They felt ice, thin ice under their feet. They were highly anxious. I didn't feel that at all. I felt the complete opposite. But
a lot of people had a lot more to worry about in terms of like I did not have any worries. Like, there was nobody sick in my family. My parents are fine. Everything as it happened. My father kind of had a bit of a hospital in the middle of all this and everything, which was a worry at the time. It's fine. And for now, it hasn't hit my job yet, you know. So the thing is, I don't have a lot to worry about there. To me, it's an inconvenience. It's boring or whatever at times or whatever, you know. I just think the two of us sitting here saying lockdown isn't so bad is kind of, we just need to be careful about our privilege in it. I do think there are a lot of people going to be very badly economically affected,
including my own household. You know, including my own household. My husband let go the day it happened, and he's in the film business, not coming back till next October or something. So I well know what it's like. I'm just saying, I just didn't feel overwhelmed by it, is my point.
Yeah, I didn't mean to be finger wagging you there either, saying check privilege or whatever. But I suppose I'm talking more about myself like that.
Yeah.
It's fun for me to say.
I was lucky. I didn't have a COVID death in the family, and we didn't have. My parents weren't affected by it. And I did miss going to my mother's and hugging her, and my daughter's pregnant and I couldn't get my arms around her. But I just didn't feel overwhelmed by it.
But you see, that's very interesting, because I think a lot of people are overwhelmed who don't need to be overwhelmed, but I think that's a choice. People, I think, are and I know a lot of people have anxiety issues and they get overwhelmed and everything. But for me, I have to say that I think you can make a choice as well to just kind of try and stand back from things. And I suppose a lot of that is from the work I've been doing, and it's meditation and whatever else, that you just, you do try and stand back from it. And I think those of us who haven't been badly affected in any real way, it does behove us to try and stand back from it and keep cool heads here now, and it's the old mindfulness kind of chestnut of like, it's not the thing that happens that affects you. Like, and funny, Angus said it to me, after Mary was born, and I was kind of like in pretty much shock. But the thing I did was I went into work after a day or two because, I don't know, it just stumbled in there and it was a place to be and to act normal for a while. But he just called me in, and like Angus and me wouldn't have had many heart-to-hearts or whatever, but he said, so he said, look, the only thing I can say to you is that it's not the things that happen to us define us, but it's how we react to them, And I think he's right. And I think those of us who this hasn't been a catastrophe in our lives, we should try and react in a kind of a calm manner and go, okay, we don't know a lot. Things are changing, and they're going to change. Like, things are going to change hugely. And like what we've had is a lot of worst case scenarios, and we've had a lot of catastrophizing. A lot of the sky is falling in and everything. So I think so what's the lesson? Stay calm.
Stay calm.
Stay calm. And actually, you know what? That it's funny how when you talk things out like this, you realize a lot of what I have changed in myself is just being calm. Be calmer. Be calmer. So that would be my very simple message. Stay calm. Keep things as simple as you can. When I was younger, my life was probably a lot more chaotic, and I made it a lot more complicated as well. And then you're dancing as fast as you can and everything. And if you're partying and being a dick and whatever else, but like now you get older and you go, just want life to be simple and calm.
Okay, lovely message. Well, listen, thank you so much for that.
Okay, I hope that was okay, wasn't it? It feels pretty boring for people who rambling on, like, and I don't have any incredible story to tell or any great wisdom to impart.
But if people want to listen to you, we know you. We all feel we know you from a radio point of view. It's just nice to see you sitting at home on your leather chair with your picture behind you, and people like to see the human person.
Do you know, Sarah bought these off a guy in Dundee, right? So when you think about it, right, she went into his house, like, and got the sofas off him, and then we got a guy we knew with a van, went to collect them and everything. All that's gone now for now, isn't it? None of that kind of carry on.
No, it's all back on. It's all back on. I only did it recently when you were talking about not tricking up things. We did a trick that we did a little house in the back garden. Mick built right through lockdown.
Really?
Well, he's a carpenter, and he built. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen in your whole life. But I was collecting junk all through the lockdown from different people all over the place, and then we could, as soon as I was allowed to sneak out and collect it, we did that. But we put it together with nothing, on a nothing budget, and it was bits of this and bits of that, old bits of vintage and all sorts of things. But and you were lecturing in the background saying no tricking up your house while I was doing
dickying up is the word. Dickying up. Yeah. When you open the shops again?
We're opening on Saturday. So, okay. And we'll see how it goes. We just thought we'd take a slow opening because we were afraid we'd be swamped with donations because we've only got tiny stock rooms.
You will be swamped, of course, won't you? Yeah.
And we do get beautiful donations, so we're lucky. Yeah. So Saturday we're all good to go. So we're scrubbing all week. That's the plan for the week.
I don't know have you had time to do all this stuff? I was going to learn a language. I was going to clear out loads of old stuff, and there was documents and everything I brought from the office, but somehow it has all eluded me. Somehow it
hasn't eluded you, because don't forget you
haven't had time to do stuff.
Yeah, no, I did loads of things. I'm one of those.
Look, I'm never going to do it now. They stopped the whole world for 3 months and I still didn't get stuff done, so I'll never do it now.
Yeah, I'm one of the annoying people. I get around to doing all those sorts of things. Anyway, listen to me. Thanks a million. It's fabulous.
Okay. No, you're more than welcome, and thank you very much. And look, I hope that was in some way
you're fabulous. And your daughter's a little dote, and congratulations on your 2 daughters.
They're two little dotes.
Congratulations on your 2 little dotes.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to you soon. And thank you for your time.
Not at all. You're more than welcome. I hope it was okay.
We really do. Right. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
thank you.
Bye.
What happens now? Am I gone off it?
You're gone.
Okay. Are we off?
Gone.
All right.
See you.
Is that okay?
Oh, perfect.